Fleet Commander Vaxtorian sighed dramatically as he stared at the blue-green planet through the viewport of his command vessel, the Magnificent Destiny. Earth. Such an unassuming name for such a troublesome world. The Galactic Council had been monitoring this backwater planet for centuries, watching as the primates who called themselves humans fumbled their way through technological advancement with all the grace of a drunken Zularian slug beast. "Commander, our scanners have completed their assessment," announced Lieutenant Krell, his 6 eyes blinking in rapid succession. "The humans have precisely 743 military vessels, most of which are confined to their oceans. Their aerospace capabilities are primitive at best." Vax snorted. 700 vessels? And they think they can stand against the combined might of the Galactic Armada? "We have 700 ships in this battle group alone, sir." The Council's directive was clear, reminded his second-in-command, Zara Kulara, her tentacled head tresses swaying gently as she approached. Earth sits on a strategic hyperlane junction. Control of this system would cut travel time to the Andromeda colonies by 63%. Yes, I read the briefing." Vax waved a clawed hand dismissively. "What I don't understand is why we are bothering with the diplomatic approach. These humans have barely figured out how to leave their own atmosphere without blowing themselves up. We could simply take what we want." Zara's skin shifted to a pale yellow, her species equivalent of a disapproving frown. "The Council believes that every sentient species deserves the opportunity to join willingly. It's protocol." "Protocol," Vax muttered under his breath. "Protocol is what got Admiral Ren Vark executed after the Proxima incident." "I heard that," Zara said sharply. "And may I remind you that Admiral Ren Vark violated 67 Council directives before his tribunal, and saved 12 billion lives in the process," Vax countered, turning away from the viewport. "But fine, we will play by the rules. Krell, establish communication with their world leaders. Let's get this farce over with." Lieutenant Krell's appendages danced across the control interface. "Sir, I have located their primary governing body. Establishing connection now." The massive view screen flickered to life, revealing a chamber filled with humans in various forms of formal attire. They looked startled, some jumping to their feet, others frantically whispering to each other. "Greetings, people of Earth," Vax began, not bothering to mask the boredom in his voice. "I am Fleet Commander Vaxtorian of the Galactic Armada. Your planet has been selected for, let's call it an annexation opportunity." The humans stared in stunned silence until one stepped forward, a female with short gray hair and a stern expression. "This is President Alexandra Morgan of the United States," she said, her voice remarkably steady. "We were not aware of any galactic governing body. What exactly are your intentions?" Vax suppressed a yawn. He'd done this speech 15 times before on other worlds. "The Galactic Council requires control of your star system due to its strategic location. In exchange for your cooperation, we offer technological advancement, medical breakthroughs, and protection under Council law. You have 24 of your Earth hours to submit to Council authority or face persuasive measures." Another human, this one male with dark skin and an elaborate robe, spoke up. "And if we refuse?" Vax smiled, revealing rows of serrated teeth. "Well, that would be unfortunate. The last planet that refused is now an asteroid belt. Very scenic. Great for tourism." The chamber erupted into chaos. Vax gestured to Krell to cut the transmission. "Well, that went about as expected," he remarked, stretching his forearms above his head. "Have the invasion fleet prepare for deployment in 26 hours. I want a show of force that will make these humans soil their primitive garments." "Sir," Zara interjected, "perhaps we should consider the Council's recommendation for a cultural liaison? The reports suggest humans are unpredictable." Vax laughed, a harsh barking sound. "Unpredictable? They are monkeys with nuclear weapons. What could they possibly do that we haven't seen 1,000 times before? They will posture. They will threaten. They might even launch a few pathetic missiles." Then they will surrender, just like all the others. I have prepared a risk assessment, Zara continued, undeterred. There are anomalies in our long-range scans that suggest— Enough, Vax snapped. I have conquered 17 worlds for the Council. I think I know how to handle a pre-FTL civilization. Zara's head tresses flattened against her skull, a sign of resignation. As you wish, Commander. 23 hours later, Vax was beginning to regret his dismissal of Zara's concerns. What do you mean they are mobilizing? He demanded, stalking across the command deck. Mobilizing what, exactly? Krell's 6 eyes were wide with confusion. Sir, we are detecting massive energy signatures from Earth's moon. It appears they have had a hidden base there all along. Impossible, Vax snarled. Our intelligence is thorough. There is no way they could have concealed. The ship shuddered violently, throwing Vax against the navigation console. We are under attack, shouted the weapons officer, a draconian named Pex. Multiple vessels emerging from behind Earth's moon. Show me, Vax ordered, righting himself. The view screen displayed a formation of sleek, angular ships emerging from the dark side of the lunar surface. They were nothing like the clumsy rockets and shuttles in Earth's known space program. These vessels moved with precision, their hulls gleaming with a metallic sheen that suggested advanced alloy compositions. How many? Vax asked, his voice suddenly hoarse. 300 and counting, sir, Krell replied, his voice trembling. They are deploying in attack formation Delta, a formation only used by advanced civilizations with quantum targeting capabilities. That's not possible, Vax stammered. They are pre-FTL. They shouldn't even know what quantum targeting is. The ship rocked again as energy weapons struck their shields. Shields at 83%, reported Pex. Sir, their weapons technology it's comparable to our own. Vax's mind raced. This couldn't be happening. The Council's intelligence was meticulous. Earth was supposed to be an easy conquest, a mere formality before claiming the hyperlane junction. Commander, Zara's voice cut through his thoughts. Incoming transmission from the human fleet. Put it through, Vax ordered, straightening his posture and forcing his face into a mask of calm authority. The screen flickered, revealing a human male in a dark uniform adorned with various insignia. Behind him stood a diverse crew of humans, all wearing similar attire. This is Admiral Thomas Jackson of the Earth Defense Fleet, the human announced, his voice carrying an edge of steel beneath its calm exterior. You seem surprised to see us, Commander Vaxtorian. Did your intelligence miss a few details? Vax swallowed hard but maintained his composure. It's a clever deception, Admiral. But your handful of ships cannot hope to stand against the full might of the Galactic Armada. Admiral Jackson smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Oh, I think you will find we are full of surprises. For instance, did you know we have been observing your council for the past 70 years? Ever since you first sent probes into our system? Vax felt a chill run down his spine. Impossible. Our stealth technology is based on phase shifting at the quantum level. Jackson finished for him. Impressive, but not infallible. We detected the fluctuations and developed countermeasures decades ago. Another impact rocked the ship. Shields at 67%, Pex announced, panic evident in his voice. You should also know, Jackson continued casually, as if discussing the weather, that what you are seeing is only our lunar defense fleet, a fraction of our total military capacity. Vax felt the blood drain from his face. You are bluffing. Am I? Jackson raised an eyebrow. Perhaps you'd like to scan Jupiter and its moons? Or maybe the asteroid belt? We have been busy while you have been watching our primitive surface activities. Krell was already inputting commands. Sir, massive energy signatures detected throughout the system. There are installations on multiple planetary bodies, and by the celestial ancestors, the readings suggest at least 2,000 additional vessels of various classes. Vax gripped the edge of the command console to steady himself. How? How could your species advance so quickly without detection? Admiral Jackson's expression hardened. Because we knew you were coming, Commander. Not you specifically, but someone like you. Humanity has always prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. It's what we do, sir, Zara whispered urgently. The second battle group is still 6 hours away. We cannot hold against this force alone. Max knew she was right, but surrender was unthinkable. No commander in Galactic Armada history had ever surrendered to a pre-FTL civilization. He would be executed upon return. Perhaps, Admiral Jackson suggested, as if reading Vax's thoughts, we could discuss more favorable terms than those you offered our leaders? One military commander to another? The Council does not negotiate with Vax began. The Council isn't here, Jackson interrupted. You are. And you are outgunned, outmaneuvered, and frankly out of options. Another impact, stronger than before. Shields at 41%, Pex reported. They are targeting our propulsion systems specifically. They don't want to destroy us, sir. They want to capture us. Vax felt trapped, cornered like prey. This was not how the mission was supposed to unfold. The humans should have been cowering, begging for mercy, not dictating terms. What do you propose, Admiral? Vax finally asked, his voice tight. Jackson nodded approvingly. A demonstration of good faith. Withdraw your forces to the edge of our solar system. We will send representatives to meet with your council directly. No intermediaries, no invasions, just diplomatic discourse between equals. Equals? Vax couldn't help but scoff. You have hidden your true capabilities, deceived the council's intelligence. We protected ourselves, Jackson corrected firmly, just as you would have done. The difference is we are offering you a way out that doesn't end with your fleet scattered across our orbit. The ship shuddered again. Shields at 29%, Pex announced. Critical systems failure imminent. Vax looked around the command deck, at the faces of his crew, some frightened, others resolute, all waiting for his decision. Then he looked back at Admiral Jackson, standing calm and confident on the screen. Very well, Admiral, Vax conceded, the words tasting bitter in his mouth. We will withdraw to discuss your terms with the Council. Jackson nodded. A wise decision, Commander. We will cease fire immediately and allow you to regroup your forces. But be warned, any aggressive action will be met with the full force of Earth's defenses. The transmission ended, leaving Vax staring at the image of Earth once more. The unassuming blue-green planet suddenly seemed far more dangerous than he could have imagined. Plot a course to the system's edge, he ordered quietly, and prepare a full report for the Council. They need to know everything has changed. As the magnificent Destiny limped away from Earth, Vax gazed at the lunar fleet following at a respectful distance. He had underestimated these humans, a mistake he would not make again. And somewhere deep inside, beneath the shame of retreat and the fear of the Council's reaction, he felt something unexpected. A grudging respect for the species that had just handed the mighty Galactic Armada its first defeat in 3 centuries. Commander, Zara said softly, joining him at the viewport. What do you think the Council will do? Vax watched as more human ships emerged from hidden bases throughout the system, their formation precise and their numbers far greater than anyone had predicted. They will adapt, he replied, as they always do. But one thing is certain, the galaxy just became a much more complicated place. Behind them, Lieutenant Krell cleared his throat nervously. Sir, long-range scanners are detecting unusual activity near Jupiter. The humans appear to be constructing something massive. Vax turned, his interest piqued despite himself. What kind of something? Unknown, sir. But based on the energy signatures, Krell hesitated, his 6 eyes blinking rapidly in distress. It appears to be a jump gate. They are building their own FTL network. Vax felt a cold realization settle over him. But this wasn't just a defensive maneuver by a surprisingly advanced civilization. This was the emergence of a new galactic power, one that had been silently preparing for this moment, perhaps for generations. and he, Fleet Commander Vaxtorian, would forever be remembered as the one who had awakened the sleeping giant. Retreat, he ordered, his voice barely above a whisper. Maximum speed. The magnificent destiny accelerated away from Earth, but Vax couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't escaping. They were being allowed to leave, to deliver a message. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Galactic Council's Grand Assembly Hall fell into stunned silence as the holographic display flickered off. The recording of the magnificent Destiny's retreat from Earth had just concluded, leaving 57 species representatives in various states of disbelief, outrage, and fear. And Vaxtorian stood in the center of the circular chamber, all four arms clasped behind his back, trying to maintain his dignity despite the disaster that had unfolded under his command. The bright lights of the hall felt like interrogation beams, exposing every failure in excruciating detail. "This is unprecedented," declared High Counselor Dresmara, her crystalline exoskeleton glinting as she leaned forward on her hovering platform. "Commander Vaxtorian, are you absolutely certain these humans had no prior contact with spacefaring civilizations?" "All evidence suggests they developed independently, High Counselor," Vax replied, keeping his voice steady despite the humiliation burning through him. "Our intelligence division has conducted a thorough investigation. No known species admits to sharing technology with Earth. Yet they somehow possess quantum targeting systems, shield penetration algorithms, and are constructing what appears to be a rudimentary jump gate?" questioned Counselor Grath, his gelatinous body pulsating with skepticism that stretches credibility beyond its breaking point. Zara Kulara stepped forward, her head tresses now a determined blue. "If I may, counselors. Our analysis suggests the humans have been observing council activities for decades, reverse engineering our technology through passive observation alone. Impossible," barked a reptilian representative from the third tier. "No species could advance so quickly merely through observation." "With respect, Counselor Vrex," Zara countered, "we have underestimated these humans at every turn. Their neural pathways appear optimized for creative problem-solving and adaptation. They see patterns where others see chaos." Vax shot her a grateful glance. Despite his dismissal of her concerns before the Earth debacle, Zara had stood by him during the grueling 3-week journey back to Council space. High Counselor Dresmara raised a segmented limb for silence. "The immediate question is not how they acquired this technology, but what they intend to do with it. Commander Vaxtorian, in your assessment, are the humans preparing for war?" Vax considered carefully before answering. His career, possibly his life, hung on how the Council interpreted his report. "They are preparing for something, High Counselor. The scale of their hidden infrastructure suggests decades of coordinated effort. However, Admiral Jackson's willingness to negotiate implies they may prefer diplomacy to conquest. Or they are simply buying time to complete their jump gate network," interjected Supreme Military Director Kaz Varn, his mechanical eye whirring as it focused on Vax. "In which case we must strike immediately, with overwhelming force." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. "And risk galactic war with a species whose full capabilities remain unknown," countered Counselor Telepax, the ancient Arvanian whose species was renowned for their diplomatic acumen. "We should send an envoy. Open proper communications. While they build weapons pointed at our worlds?" Kazvarn scoffed. "Naive as always, Tella." The chamber erupted into heated debate, various counselors shouting over one another. Vax remained silent, watching as the political machine of the Galactic Council ground into motion. This was why he preferred the simplicity of command, clear objectives, clear enemies. Politics was all shifting alliances and hidden agendas. Silence. High Counselor Dresmara's amplified voice cut through the chaos. "We will address this methodically. First, containment. Director Kazvarn mobilized the fleet to establish a quarantine perimeter around the Sol system. No human vessels are to leave their territory." Immediately, High Counselor Kazvarn nodded, already inputting commands into his neural interface. Second, intelligence. I want everything on these humans. Their biology, psychology, history, cultural weaknesses, everything. If they have been watching us, we have been watching them too, however inadequately. Various counselors nodded in agreement. Third, diplomacy. Counselor Telepax, prepare a delegation to meet with these humans. But Dresmara added as Tela began to speak, they will meet at our chosen neutral location, not Earth, and only after our military position is secured. Telepax's wrinkled face creased further with concern, but she nodded acquiescence. Finally, Dresmara turned her compound eyes toward Vax. Accountability. Commander Vaxtorion, you are relieved of fleet command, effective immediately. Vax stiffened, but kept his expression neutral. He had expected this. However, the High Counselor continued, your first-hand experience with these humans is invaluable. You will serve as military advisor to Counselor Telepax's diplomatic mission. Perhaps redemption lies in helping us understand the enemy you inadvertently provoked. Vax bowed his head, surprised. It wasn't execution or imprisonment, the usual fate of commanders who failed so spectacularly. I serve at the Council's pleasure, High Counselor. As the meeting adjourned, Vax and Zara walked silently through the Grand Assembly's towering corridors. It could have been worse, Zara finally said, her head tresses now a contemplative purple. Advisory duty is practically a vacation compared to fleet command. Vax snorted. Advisory duty to Telepax? The fossil hasn't seen combat in 3 centuries. She still believes in the inherent goodness of all sentient life. Perhaps that's exactly what we need right now, Zara suggested. Someone who doesn't immediately reach for a plasma cannon when confronted with the unknown. Vax was about to retort when his neural implant chimed with an incoming priority message. His eyes widened as he processed the information. What is it? Zara asked, noticing his expression. The quarantine fleet. They have made contact with the humans, but not at Sol. Vax swallowed hard. The humans are already at Proxima Centauri. They have established an outpost and they are building another jump gate. Zara's skin paled to an ashen gray. That's not possible. Even with FTL technology, they shouldn't have been able to establish a functional outpost so quickly. Director Kaz Varn is calling an emergency session, Vax said, already turning back toward the assembly hall. It seems our diplomatic mission just became a lot more urgent. 3 standard cycles later, Vax found himself aboard the diplomatic vessel Harmonious Exchange, staring out at the human fleet that had arranged itself in a defensive formation around the neutral meeting point, a desolate moon orbiting a gas giant in an uninhabited star system. The humans had named the meeting location Concordia Point. Vax found their penchant for symbolic naming both primitive and oddly poetic. They are hailing us, announced the communications officer. Admiral Jackson himself. On screen, ordered Counselor Telepax, adjusting her ceremonial robes as she took center position. The viewscreen illuminated to reveal Admiral Jackson, looking much as he had during their first encounter, though now his uniform displayed additional insignia. Counselor Telepax. Jackson nodded respectfully. Thank you for agreeing to these talks. We believe they are long overdue. Admiral Jackson, Tela replied with formal warmth. The Council shares your desire for peaceful resolution. You remember Commander Vaxtorion, I believe? Jackson's eyes found Vax, and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. Indeed. Good to see you again, Commander. I trust your return journey was uneventful? The subtle mockery wasn't lost on Vax, but he maintained his composure. Quite uneventful, Admiral. Though I confess your presence in this system raises questions about the eventfulness of yours. Jackson smiled. Humanity has always been eager to explore. But perhaps such matters are best discussed in person? Our delegation is prepared to board your vessel, or alternatively, we can host you aboard the Prometheus. Vax noticed how casually Jackson offered both options, as if meeting on a council vessel held no fears for them. Either the humans were fools, or they were supremely confident in their position. We would be honored to host you aboard the Harmonious Exchange, Tela decided. Our environmental systems have been calibrated to Earth standard conditions. Excellent, Jackson nodded. We will shuttle over immediately. Jackson out. As the transmission ended, Vax turned to Tella. Counselor, I must advise caution. We know very little about their true capabilities or intentions. Tella's ancient eyes regarded him with patience born of millennia. And they know very little about ours, Commander. Yet here they are, willing to meet on our vessel. Sometimes the greatest show of strength is vulnerability. Vax wasn't convinced, but he had learned the hard way not to dismiss concerns out of hand. At least allow me to implement standard security protocols. Of course, Tella agreed. But remember, Commander, we are here to build bridges, not walls. Bridges can be rigged with explosives, Vax muttered under his breath as he went to brief the security team. The human delegation consisted of Admiral Jackson and 4 others, a tall female introduced as Dr. Ileana Reyes, their xenobiologist, a stocky male named Marcus Donovan, their diplomatic representative, a serene-looking elder called Ambassador Grace Williams, and a younger male who simply went by Ben, whose role wasn't specified but whose eyes missed nothing. They now sat around the grand conference table in the Harmonious Exchange's diplomatic chamber, an awkward silence hanging in the air after initial introductions. Perhaps, Tella began gently, we should address the question that has brought us here. How did humanity advance so rapidly without detection, and what are your intentions toward the galactic community? Marcus Donovan leaned forward. With respect, Counselor, that's 2 questions. But they are fair ones. The short answer is we have been preparing for this meeting for over a century. A century? Vax couldn't help interrupting. Our first probes only entered your system 70 years ago. Your first probes that you know of, corrected Ben, speaking for the first time. His voice was soft but carried an unmistakable edge. But the Zularian scout ship that crashed in a region called Roswell arrived in 1947 by our calendar. Vax frowned. Zularians haven't conducted independent scouting missions in over 400 cycles. Precisely, Ben nodded. It wasn't a sanctioned mission. It was a rogue scientific expedition. The survivors shared quite a lot before they succumbed to their injuries and our, at the time, primitive containment procedures. Telepax's eyes widened. You have had Zularian technology since then? That would explain much. It was just the beginning, Admiral Jackson added. Over the decades, we recovered various pieces of extraterrestrial technology. Some crashes, some deliberate probes, some visitors with their own agendas. We kept it secret, even from our own population, while we studied, reverse-engineered, and prepared. But why the secrecy? Asked Zara, who had been silently observing until now. If you had confirmed the existence of extraterrestrial life, why not announce it? Why not seek peaceful contact? Ambassador Williams smiled sadly. Because not all contacts were peaceful, Commander Q. Lara. Some visitors came to experiment, others to scout for invasion. We learned quickly that the galaxy isn't always a friendly place. So you militarized, Vax concluded, pieces falling into place. Built hidden fleets, bases throughout your system. We prepared, Jackson corrected. For any possibility. Peace was always our preference, but we wouldn't be at the mercy of more advanced civilizations. And now, Tella asked, her voice gentle but probing. Your expansion to Proxima Centauri, your jump gate construction, these look like the actions of a species preparing for war. Marcus Donovan shook his head. They are the actions of a species claiming its rightful place in the galactic community. We have observed how the Council operates counselor packs. Only those with strength are given a voice. We intend to have a voice. Vax felt a chill run down his spine. You have been watching Council proceedings? How? Ben smiled enigmatically. Let's just say some Council members have been more sympathetic to humanity's right to self-determination than others. The implication was clear: humanity had allies within the Council itself. Spies or sympathizers who had been feeding them information, perhaps technology. This changes the calculation considerably, Vax said grimly. Director Kaz Varn will see this as confirmation that military action is necessary. That, said Admiral Jackson firmly, would be a catastrophic mistake. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Is that a threat, Admiral? Vax asked quietly. It's a fact, Jackson replied, equally quiet. We don't want war, Commander, but if attacked, we will defend ourselves with everything we have. And we have more than you have seen. Dr. Reyes, who had been silent until now, suddenly spoke. We didn't come here to exchange threats. We came to offer an alliance. Alliance? Tella's eyebrows rose in surprise. Yes, Ambassador Williams took over smoothly. The Council needs the hyperlane junction in our system. We control that junction now. But rather than conflict, we propose cooperation. Shared access, shared defense, shared prosperity. And what do you want in return? Vax asked suspiciously. Recognition, said Marcus Donovan. A seat on the Council, access to galactic trade networks, and a guarantee of our sovereignty. Tella looked thoughtful. These are not unreasonable requests, in principle. But the Council has procedures, traditions. Traditions can evolve, Ben interrupted, or they can break. The choice is yours. The implied ultimatum hung in the air. Vax studied the humans carefully. There was no bluster in their demeanor, no uncertainty. They had planned this moment for generations and were executing with precision. Surprisingly, he found himself respecting them even more. There is one more thing you should know, Admiral Jackson said after a moment. The reason we have expanded to Proxima Centauri so quickly. He nodded to Ben, who activated a holographic display in the center of the table. It showed a massive object moving through deep space, its surface covered in what appeared to be technology of unknown origin. What am I looking at? Vax asked, leaning forward despite himself. We call it the Harbinger, Jackson explained grimly. We detected it 20 years ago, moving toward Council space from the galactic rim. It's not responding to any communication attempts, and its energy signature doesn't match any known species. Telepax gasped softly. The precursor prophecies. Yes, Ambassador Williams nodded solemnly. We have accessed enough of your historical records to recognize the similarities. Whatever this object is, it appears to match ancient warnings in multiple Council species mythologies. Why show us this? Vax demanded, though he already suspected the answer. Because facing this threat alone would be suicide for either of us, Jackson said simply. But together, your established networks and our innovative approaches, we might stand a chance. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. A common enemy, a threat to all, emerging just as humanity made its debut on the galactic stage. Vax looked at the humans with new eyes. Not conquerors, not victims, but potential allies against something far worse. I will take your proposal to the full Council, Telepax finally said, her voice heavy with the weight of history in the making. But I believe they will see the wisdom in cooperation rather than conflict. For all our sakes, I hope so, Jackson replied. As the meeting concluded and preparations were made for the humans' departure, Vax found himself standing beside Admiral Jackson in the observation lounge, both looking out at the stars. You planned this perfectly, Vax remarked, not bothering to hide his admiration. The reveal of your fleet, the strategic expansion, even the timing of revealing the Harbinger threat, a masterful campaign. Jackson chuckled. High praise from the commander of the magnificent destiny. But there was one variable we couldn't control. Oh? Vax raised an eyebrow ridge. You, Jackson said simply. Most of our simulations predicted the first contact commander would either attack immediately or retreat and never return. You did neither. You adapted. It's why I requested you specifically for this diplomatic mission. Vax was startled. You requested me? But I thought that it was punishment. Jackson smiled. Perhaps it was meant to be. But we made certain suggestions through our Council contacts. Why? Vax asked. genuinely puzzled. "Because the galaxy is about to change forever," Jackson said, his gaze returning to the stars. "And when it does, we will need commanders who can see past old prejudices and recognize new possibilities. Commanders like you, Vaxtorian." For the first time since the disastrous retreat from Earth, Vax felt something like hope stirring within him. Not for his career or his standing with the Council, but for the future of a galaxy that suddenly seemed both more dangerous and more promising than he had ever imagined. To new possibilities, then, he said, extending one of his forearms in the human gesture of handshake that he had studied. Admiral Jackson grasped it firmly, and to turning the tide, as their vessels departed in opposite directions. The humans to continue their preparations, Vax to face the Council with humanity's proposal. One thing became clear to the alien commander. The galaxy had indeed changed forever, not because humanity had revealed its hidden fleet, but because for the first time in millennia, the Galactic Council would have to recognize they weren't the only power capable of shaping the future. And somehow Vaxtorian was looking forward to seeing what that future might hold.